now a couple of minutes after past. My name is Mbulelo Mandlana. I'm the spokesperson of the South African Communist Party. In front of you are people who are familiar faces to you. He's the General Secretary, Comrade Mabaila. He's the first Deputy General Secretary, Comrade Madala Masuku. He's a Politburo member, Comrade Jenny Schreiner, and a Politburo member, Comrade Ben Martin. We are going to have the General Secretary read the statement of the Communist Party. We will take questions afterwards. We will give you the copies of the statement as soon as we are done with the engagement we are about to begin now. In addition to these Politburo members you have here, is Comrade Dinyego, who forgot for a minute. That is also a Politburo member. He has joined the table. Comrade GS, I will hand over to you again. And colleagues, after this, we will do a question and answer session. Thank you very much. Over to you, Namba.
I'm going to use Comrade Jenny's system. I hope it will be compatible. But thank you very much once more to Comrade Mbulelo and members of the media, our leadership present here. Safe to say, tomorrow we are having a Politburo meeting. So we'll have an extensive discussion and further elaboration on our comprehensive. Tomorrow we'll be having our Politburo, in which we will have further enhance the statements that we're going to share with you today and our comprehensive response effectively to the decision taken by the ANC which affect the role of communists inside the ANC or in our movement. But let me start by highlighting that as we meet here, you would have known that the Israeli government had just killed a journalist, Amal Khalil, in Lebanon. Amal Khalil had initially survived targeted drone attacks together with other journalists. And this week, they finally got her and murdered her. This we want to condemn in the strongest terms possible. The continued targeting of journalists all over the world, particularly those who are currently covering Israel and US aggression and war on Iran and in other parts of the world. So we want to affirm the necessity for the protection of journalists in all areas, including in war zones, where they are able to cover the news and transmit that to the people. Coming to our statement. We want to indicate that we are affirming the independence of the party and upholding revolutionary discipline and advance the struggle for working class representation towards socialism. This statement is also a circular we are sending to our members to respond to the developments inside our movement. Our statement reads as follows. The SACP, South African Communist Party, has never had a problem with the ANC contesting elections in its own right. The SACP has never regarded the ANC as an enemy, even for contesting election in its own right. The SACP has never disciplined or threatened any of its members for participation in building, voting, and campaigning for the ANC. In fact, as the history of the past 30 years of our hard-won universal adult suffrage since 1994 shows, the SACP has not only embraced the ANC contesting elections in its own right, but has also supported the ANC's electoral contest, to the extent of the SACP even reserving its own right to contest elections directly in favor of voting for and campaigning for more votes beyond ours for the ANC within the framework of the alliance. In the golden rules of justice and solidarity, the principles of consistency are as crucial as in mathematics. The moment you expect one side to do what you demonstratively are not prepared to do yourself, or to sustain forever what you have never done in a single moment of history, you must recognize that you are being unfair, with far-reaching implications. In mathematics, when you resolve formulas, they say do what you do on the left, also on the right. Today, the SACP addresses all its members, leaders and structures at a moment of major political consequence for the future of the party, that is the SACP, the alliance, and the revolutionary working class struggle for socialism, and more broadly, our nation at large. The ANC-NEC leadership has now moved beyond tactical disagreement on the SACP's decision to contest the 2026 local government elections independently. Through its internal speaker's notes and related directives, the ANC has sought to turn a tactical difference into an administrative and disciplinary ultimatum directed at communists inside the ANC. The ANC demands declaration from members of the SACP and threaten action against those it believes are acting for the party's campaign, while insisting there should be no witch hunts. This for us is not a minor procedural adjustment. It is regrettably a serious anti-communist political move with far-reaching implications, which also changes the character of the ANC as we know it. It amounts to an attempt to reinterpret the alliance and dual membership in a narrow electoral and one-sided compliance terms. It seeks to reduce a historic strategic relationship forged in a bitter struggle for national liberation with shed blood, sacrifice, and shed battles into a one-sided demand for subordination and permanent support from an ally, while never considering reciprocating the same support for a single moment, or literally a single second of time measurement. This is, in substance, the essence of the ultimatum to communists in the ANC. The party rejects this approach with the contempt that it deserves. We reject it not because we reject discipline. On the contrary, ours is a party of iron discipline. We reject it because no genuine alliance can be sustained on the basis of cohesion by one partner exercising its independence, but coercing another against exercising its independence. We reject it because the strategic alliance has never meant the liquidation of the Communist Party into the ANC. We reject it because dual membership was never meant to abolish the SACP's right to think, to organize, to campaign, and to lead struggles and develop tactics on any question as an independent party of the working class. We reject it because the problems now confronting the National Democratic Forces did not arise because the SACP chose to contest elections. They arose from political deviations on the liberation agenda and radical economic changes required to make liberation tangible and meaningful to the masses, and prevarication on the common ownership of land and the wealth beneath it, and a deeper crisis in the movement. Mass disillusionment, declining voter turnout, neoliberal drift by the government, and control of the economy and economic policy by monopoly capital and foreign forces, including and especially the Harvard Group that have just recently imposed an economic policy on our movement. Equally, corruption, patronage, factionalism, and the marginalization of working class solutions in major policy questions, even where these are agreed in the Common Alliance manifestos. No amount of administrative enforcement can resolve a political crisis whose roots lie in the lived reality of the people. So the SACP's position remains clear. We therefore reaffirms clearly and without ambiguity our decision to contest 2026 local government elections directly under our own banner shall continue. We will implement it without fear. The SACP is a part of experience that survived a ban under the Suppression of Communism Act imposed by the apartheid regime in 1950. We're the first organization to be banned in this country by the regime of Verwoerd. We're still here. We will be here for the next 105 years. No aspect of such a ban or anything similar, however it is branded under our hard-won democratic dispensation, can succeed in instilling fear in the SACP. Our decision to contest the forthcoming elections directly was not taken lightly, emotionally or adventurously. It arose from a sober assessment of the crisis facing local government, amongst others, the weakening hold of the liberation movement over working class communities, and the need to rebuild a direct, independent, and accountable political presence of the working class in the terrain of governance and public representation. Our independent contestation is also not a retreat from the struggle for alliance reconfiguration. It is part of that struggle. It is not a retreat from the national democratic revolution itself. It is a struggle over its class direction, its organizational content, and its future. So the ANC leadership has been saying it respects the SACP's right to take its own decisions. But in what is a negation of that respect, they've been also saying they disagree with our decision to stand for elections in our own right. In the same breath, the ANC goes on an intimidation tirade against its members, reflecting its intention to censure the communists regarding their right to take part in ANC activities. As you know, the ANC is a multi-class organization. So it has the right to have communists, non-communists, and so forth. They have never launched a campaign against capital or their members who are in business, for instance. In the same breath, let me repeat this. In the same breath, the ANC goes on an intimidation tirade against its members, reflecting its intention to censure communists regarding their right to take part in SACP activities. A communist party that has resolved to go into election in its own name in this regard. Respect, therefore, cannot coexist with an ultimatum with contradictory demands. Commitment to the alliance cannot coexist with the administrative targeting of communists. A declaration that there will be no witch hunt rings hollow when accompanied by instructions designed to isolate and mischievously monitor and discipline SACP members. The SACP also reminds all cadres and all honest Democrats that the communist contribution to electoral outcomes in the democratic period is a matter of political record. Across successive elections, it was the organized working class, mobilized through SACP structures, trade unions, community formations, and the broader mass democratic movement that helped sustain the alliance vote and deliver government mandates. Even the 2024 outcome, with all its difficulties and setbacks, did not fall from the sky and was not produced by any alliance partner campaigning and voting alone in isolation. It rested in significant measure on the loyalty, sacrifices, and mobilization of workers, the poor, and the communities shaped and organized over decades by communist and allied activism. to seek to privatize the outcome of the elections and now marginalize the SACP and targets its cadres and members through administrative enforcement is not only a breach of alliance discipline, it is a direct affront to the very forces that helped build, defend, and repeatedly renew the electoral base of the movement. And we can say without equivocations here as the SACP, we have given to this movement our all and the best of our cadres, from Chris Hani to Nelson Mandela to Thabo Mbeki even. We have given them the best. They've used them, they've decided at one point or another to even turn them against us. Our votes, therefore, were counted, and our campaign for more votes beyond our own votes mattered. Everybody in deployment, including the very same president, is there because our votes and campaigning for more votes beyond ours, combined with the votes and campaigning by members and structures of other alliance partners, and therefore the entire alliance within its framework. You cannot enjoy the outcomes of these joint efforts while seeking to isolate others who contributed directly through their votes and campaigning. If you do so, the betrayal will be laying the seed of a new contradictions, more especially while you are working hard hand in glove with parties that campaigned not just against you, but campaigns to bring you down. We have mentioned this question repeatedly in the run-up to 2024 elections. The so-called Moonshot Pact of parties that were organized by the Brandes Foundation, the foundation of the Oppenheimers, organized through European Solidarity Center. They had a big meeting in Gdansk in Poland to plot how to remove this movement from political power. Those parties are now in the government of national unity. And some who attended there, of these 50 leaders from Africa that were sent to Gdansk to plot in the name of defending democracy and against totalitarianism, which was a nice subject to attract participation. But it was clear what was the mission of the Oppenheimers in this regard, as well as the European Union. Amongst them was the leader of the DA, the leader of the IFP, Rolf Meyer, that is now sent to America as our ambassador, and several others, the leader of reactionary forces, of Renamo in Mozambique, of UNITA in Angola, the forces that have fought and killed our comrades when we were fighting for national liberation. The system now has disappeared. With all of that, it is clear now the allies, in this case communists, who died together with ANC members in the bitter struggle for national liberation, are now the ones that are targeted while you are embracing the enemy. So this is coming out much more clearly. But the course of history will reveal more about this. As we have never been, we will not be spectators either as the SACP. To our members, we call on them to understand the gravity of the moment, but also to reject panic, confusion, and demoralization. This is not the time for retreat. It is not the time for individual improvisation. It is not the time for public emotionalism. It is the time for disciplined collective conduct. Every SACP member must remain calm, organized, and politically focused. No disciplined comrade must act individually under pressure or improvisation. No comrade must submit to intimidation and ultimatums and make unilateral declarations or tender resignations or take strategic decisions affecting SACP membership and responsibilities without consulting with the party. The SACP will not accede to ultimatums from another organization. Simple as that. That must be understood. Even those who are dreaming, I don't know, when people dream, they think they can give instructions to the SACP. We don't take instruction from capital nor from its stooges. Matters arising from this maneuver must be handled collectively, politically, and through SACP structures. We equally understand that if some members decide to remain with the ANC, we will respect that. We have never forced any member to join us. But we say to them, they must not undermine their own history and their own discipline by acceding to unnecessary ultimatums. All SACP members who are also ANC members must continue to conduct themselves with dignity, discipline, and revolutionary ethics and morality. We will not answer provocations with provocations. We will not descend into abuse, mudslinging, or anti-ANC rhetoric. Our struggle is not against ANC or even ordinary ANC members, many of whom remain our comrades in the broader liberation movement and amongst the motive forces. Our struggle is against things such as neoliberal policies and a political line that seeks to weaken the independent role of the party and diminish working class influence in the movement. No SACP member must therefore accept isolation. SACP branches, districts, and provinces must urgently identify comrades who are directly affected, especially those serving in ANC structures, those deployed in government, those employed in ANC or public offices, and those exposed to direct pressure because of their party responsibilities. These comrades must be placed under organized political care. They must receive guidance, protection, and collective support. The SACP will not abandon its cadres to fend for themselves. The SACP must intensify, not retreat, from its independent political and electoral work. And it must continue the fight against neoliberalism, corruption, and government decay. The answer to intimidation is not paralysis, it is organization. Every branch must strengthen local campaigning, mass contact, voter engagement, political education, community struggles, as we have been doing with our People's Red Caravan. Every community must turn into a People's Red Caravan. Workplace mobilization and public communication around the SACP local government program. Every district and province must ensure that the SACP is independently visible in communities, not only as an electoral force, but as the organized voice of working class grievances, working class demands, working class solutions, and working class hope. All structures of the SACP are required to defend the historic principle of dual membership, which since 1994 we have used it for over 30 years to campaign for the ANC within the alliance framework. Now is the time to assert our independence in elections and both vote for and campaigning for the SACP. Dual membership is not a favor granted by one organization to another. It is a political practice rooted in the history of our liberation struggle, in the strategic alliance between national liberation and socialism, and in the need for all of us to work inside broad mass formations while retaining our independence. To reinterpret the alliance or dual membership as an arrangement valid only when the SACP is electorally subordinate is to empty it of all its historical mission or political meaning respectively. The SACP will continue to engage alliance partners, family, and fraternally on equal basis. We do not seek an unnecessary rupture at branch, district, or provincial, or even national level. We remain committed to principled engagement and to the long-term necessity of alliance reconfiguration on the basis of mutual respect, strategic clarity, and the independence of each constituent formation. But we will not purchase superficial peace at the price of surrendering the SACP's political role and independence. If we were to locate this in its proper context, it is important to say this development must, as we respond to the Speaker's notes of the ANC in the context of this development, to locate it properly, that the Speaker's notes attempt to present the SACP's independent electoral contestation as the main danger facing the movement, drawing on by electoral results and provincial experiences compiled from a one-sided view to justify this hardline. But the deeper danger lies elsewhere. The greatest threat is not that of communists. Communists are contesting. The threat to our alliance and the NDR is the capture by monopoly capital on the state and some leading members. Therefore, capital remains strategic enemy of our revolution, not the SACP and its decision to contest elections. Also, the continued erosion of confidence among the working class and poor, the withdrawal of millions from electoral politics, and the inability of local government in many instances to respond to people's basic demands. If this reality is not confronted honestly, then using discipline as an instrument in suppression aimed at communists will solve nothing. The SACP therefore say to its members, do not be distracted by the noise. Focus on the political substance. The working class needs an SACP that can act with courage, clarity, and organization. The people need an SACP that will not disappear into the administrative subordination of another formation, including an ally. The moment demands firmness, not hesitation. Of our immediate task, which we have also shared as we had a discussion with our leadership, our provinces last night, as well as last week after this speaker's notes started circulating. We are calling all our provinces, district and branch structures to convene urgent meetings to discuss this development and report through SACP channels on the situation in their areas. To this end, the Secretariat will deploy Central Committee members to our districts. Every structure must compile, within the shortest possible time, a clear assessment of comrades who may be affected by the ANC directive and the type of support they require. Provincial and district leadership must also establish reporting lines so that any incident of pressure, exclusion, intimidation, or threatened disciplinary action is immediately communicated upward and collectively handled. At the same time, political education on dual membership, party independence, alliance reconfiguration, and the local government electoral positions must be intensified without delay. And our public representatives, organizers, and local leaders must deepen their work among communities and places and why the SACP is contesting and what it stands for in local government. There must be no factional behavior from our comrades, no opportunism, and no attempt to exploit this conjuncture for personal or local score settling. Any comrade who uses this moment to pursue petty agendas acts against SACP discipline. This is a moment for unity, maturity, revolutionary seriousness. And a direct word also to our cadres and to all communists in the ANC, we say this. And we want to quote from our own documents. Stand firm, you are not alone. You are not being asked to choose between discipline and principle. You are being called upon to uphold both under the leadership of the SACP in a difficult and changing conjuncture. Consult the SACP and the party and we'll give you guidance. The SACP has a line from which it will do so. Report to the SACP, act with the SACP. Do not allow yourself to be isolated, panicked, or maneuvered into individual responses to a political question. Whether or not our members are ANC members, the message is equally clear. Strengthen the SACP, both to pursue the immediate objectives and long-term goals of our struggle. The SACP has no interest of its own apart from those of the working class as a revolutionary movement. Build the structures and the branches of the party, deepen our campaigns, organize the workers and the poor, advance the socialist perspective, defend the dignity and independence of Communist Party. This is the road we have chosen. It is not subordination. It is the correct road to end all forms of human exploitation, not collaboration with it. The SACP will not be intimidated out of its historic mission. The SACP will not abandon its cadres, and the SACP will not surrender its independence. And we say forward to people's power, forward to the reconfiguration of the alliance on principled terms, and forward to communist leadership in the struggle for transformation and for socialism. Thank you very much. This is our statement. We just want to indicate that to our team, there's a statement we issued on the 10th of April this year. That day we delivered 2 statements. Because when the NEC said they chose the day on which our General Secretary was assassinated, Comrade Chrisani, 10th April, when we were having a celebration of Comrade Chrisani in Mpumalanga. They chose that day. It was deliberate. So we delivered a message there. We also have to write a statement to that NEC. We have asked that this statement be distributed to you, and also you can also get it on our website. It's a comprehensive statement. It also dealt with some of, we didn't want to repeat some of those. It dealt with the precursor to this period, the rejection by the ANC leadership to discuss the framework that was developed jointly to finalize that framework. The framework that allowed, where we committed ourselves as the SACP to what we characterize as coordinated elections campaign. We've been discussing this over the last 6 months or so. By the way, they failed to report that discussion to the ANC AGC because they were still saying to us in our meetings, looking at only one option, where about 4 options. The option that simply said the SACP must not contest elections, which option we completely could not agree with. Even up to the NEC level, the last NEC, we said in the absence of the leadership at the officials level, the top 6 in the Communist Party, top 7 in the ANC, where we're failing to reach out to one another in terms of agreement on the basis of a jointly drafted document. We said let's go on and have a discussion at the PB and NWC, as well as the NEC and Central Committee. That has not happened, because the leadership kept on, the ANC leaders kept on saying, let's finalize this thing. They think we can resolve it. Ultimately, we took that document to the alliance. We've now made it an alliance. It was a bilateral document. We've now made it an alliance document. We issued it as well on the 10th of April for the first time, so that whatever it said about us, as if we're the most intransigent in seeking to find solutions, can be found there. The only thing we could not agree, of course, was to change our Congress decision. They can't even change an NEC decision, but they want us to change a Congress decision. So we felt that it's important that as people in the media working on these questions, you can look into those statements, as well as that document, our framework document on the possibility to work together in some areas which the ANC rejected. We remained open to that. Like we said, we remain open to further discussions. But they've closed the discussion themselves, not us. At the same time, there's a document that we also believe you can have access to as journalists, especially. This document was an SACP discussion document in 1993 in anticipation of the 1994 elections. It says the transition to democracy and socialism in South Africa. Go and get that document. You'll get the SACP's clear position on elections, including the option at that time to support the ANC on conditions. It was not a principle to support the ANC forever on elections. We used to be independent, to contest elections on our own before the apartheid government banned us. So we're just alerting you to this document so that you can reach out to them to enlarge the perspective that we are having now. Because at the moment, it's as if this decision is so tectonic, it's shattering everything, it's so unknown. No, we have said it clearly in 1993 that if there's a degeneration of the liberation movement, degeneration in discipline, if there's chaos, like the chaos we are seeing in ill discipline, in corruption and other things, that we will have to consider that commitment as a SACP. We provided a period of over 22 years of discussing the reconfiguration of the alliance. This is the consequence that our Congress therefore said, in the absence of this reconfiguration working, we will have to conduct elections on our own. This context is also a part of reconfiguring the alliance itself. Thank you very much. Thanks, Comrade Jenny.
Yes, I'll take that, colleagues. The person who has confiscated a mic already. All right, I'll take you, sir. You, ma'am, sir. Sorry. That's number 4. Take you up, viewer. Take you number 6. Newsroom, number 7. And I'll take you number 10 and take you Contextualizing as number 11. All right, in that order. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, Shannon Marichka, SABC Africa, a member in good standing of the Press Council of South Africa. To the SACP.
I thought you were saying, remember you said
That's the intention. It was the confusion. You say what you do on the right, you must do on the left, right? Now you talk of 1993, 1991, Mandela's, I want to call it Mandela's ANC, and Mandela coming from SACP as well, as you alluded. But at that point, why didn't you stop the clause in the ANC constitution? Because you both have, and COSATU have dual membership. There's no dispute about that. Even today, the ANC is not disputing dual membership. What the dispute is about, the same constitution of Mandela, it's not the constitution of Ramaphosa, had the clause to say alliance partners can't contest against the ANC. So that was a principal position based on the constitution. So now asking the ANC to go back on that same constitution of Mandela, I think the SACP is asking for too much, to be honest. Second part, now that one of your well-known leaders, to your members, to the party, to us in the media, is no longer part of your team. It's like you lost one of your goalkeepers. And this week you lost many of your strikers that's in government that was pushing the SACP agenda. Now you're down to, you're going to play 6-man side. How are you going to do that? Last but not least, there's rumors that the SACP is getting billions from China and from Russia. Is that true? Are you getting any funding? 1 rand, 10 rand, $1, 1 yen from Russia and China? Thank you.
Colleagues, can you try to keep it to at least 2 questions? At terribly worst. I would have said 1 question. Let's try 2, please.
No, we are collapsing us.
No. Allow them.
We will have a second round.
Morning, my name is Samtana Kapa from District 4. Hello. My name is Samtana Kapa from District 4. Mr. Mapaila, are you able to just bring us into your confidence around your membership? What is your membership as of today? And then, in terms of by-election performance, you've contested a few by-elections, and you are not putting in numbers that look great. It's around 0.1%, 2% in some by-elections. What gives you the confidence that you will actually perform in these elections? Is it not going to lead to the death of the SACP? How are you going to come back from that? And then, you said that the ANC has never launched a campaign against capital. Your members that are in the ANC, the dual membership holders, do you believe that they've done enough to push their agenda? And yeah, I'll leave it there for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning or afternoon, I'm not sure it's the time. Yeah. GS, my name is Mwanda. I work for the Sunday World. I get September's first question. Maybe it's related to me. GS, you personally, are you a UN member of the ANC and the SACP? But on a much more serious note, GS, practically, since you are rejecting this decision of the ANC that those that are UN members must choose who to campaign for this state act, for the record to be clear, that's what the ANC is asking of UN members. Quoting in its constitution some section 25 something that says that no ANC member can campaign, advance or oppose the ANC. Practically, because it does sound like a practical decision from where I stand, at a much basic logical level, not going deep into politics, but in your view, at the political level, as they say, practically, in this situation, what should have been done? Or what would you do if the ANC, say, was on the other side, was the one that had taken the decisions to move away from the SACP? What sort of advice did you give the ANC in the many meetings you had since the Congress, the December 2024 Congress decision to contest independently from the ANC? Two, and finally from my side, the missing voice in this whole debate over the past 15 months or so has been the voice of COSATU, where COSATU House today. Maybe you can bring us into light, GS. What is the position of COSATU, as you understand it, as a SACP, in this whole saga from where it starts in the Special Congress 2024, December, up to now, in these heightened political tensions? Where does COSATU stand? Have you engaged COSATU lately? And historically, even since we took the decision, what sort of mood do you get in terms of where do they stand? Thank you very much.
Good morning, it's Bikanyo MDN TV. My first question, SG, it's with regard to engagement. Was there any formal engagement to resolve issues before it reached public domain, sorry? And the second question is, how are you intending to grow support base under the circumstances? And my last question is, do this development reflect a broader ideological division within the alliance? And if so, what are the key points of disagreement? Thank you.
Ziniko Mhlaba from Newsroom Africa. Leadership, I'm asking this question to anyone can respond, but I just want to get a sense of the SACP on how far is the SACP willing to remain with this decision. The Secretary General of the ANC last week said the alliance is intact, it's not broken. But now, listening to the attitude of the SACP and how strong it's holding, it's defending, or willing to defend its decision on the resolution of the conference, should the attitude from both sides remain the way it is the SACP willing to really consider leaving the ANC completely or breaking ranks with the ANC completely? As you said, that looking at the state of the ANC and how it has literally met all the issues that were outlined by the SACP to be issues that would force the SACP to reconsider its alliance or its relations with the ANC. Looking at that now, do you think if they pursue this idea of disciplinary action against members of both parties, is the SACP willing or considering to call it quits in that line?
Thank you. Abdul Mtila from ENCA. The SACP is basically outlining, making a breakdown between relations with the ANC, suggests that the ANC is leaning towards capitalists. You've got your issues that have led to you wanting to go to the elections alone. Why then do you still insist on having dual membership with the very ANC that obviously you're not in good terms with, seemingly? Secondly, in a practical sense, aren't you supposed to be now, given that you're going elections alone, organizing your structures, having clear members of the SACP that will represent you perhaps in parliament or mayors and so on? So surely you should want your members to strictly be SACP members. And then maybe lastly, what are you saying? I mean, you've got members that hold a lot of sway. For example, in the top 7, ministers, Manamela, Blake Zamande, deputy ministers, David Masfondo, and so on, even provincial leaders, Opopi Ramatuba. What are you saying? Should they campaign for the SACP? If they do choose perhaps to then campaign for the ANC, what's going to happen? Because the ANC has outlined its stance quite significantly, suggesting that there will be dire consequences for ANC members that campaign for the SACP.
Good morning, GS. Breiten here from Netwerk 24. Sorry, good morning, GS. Breiten here from Netwerk 24. Maybe just 3 quick ones. How will the SACP survive financially? Politics is very expensive in South Africa. So how do you plan on navigating that terrain? Secondly, is this fight, as you termed it, with the ANC, is it a fight of ideologies? Are you not finding expression anymore in the ANC? Or is it a fight about personalities and ego? Is it the current leadership that there's an issue with, or what's the issue about? And in this era of coalition politics that we are in, who will be the friends of the SACP? Is there perhaps a marriage between the EFF, the MKP waiting to happen? Maybe just some clarity on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Tantla with the SABC. Tantla, the position of the ANC is clear. Do you still believe there's something to salvage in this relationship with the ANC? Thank you.
Is that all? Or there's one hand here?
That's a serious question, that. And the shortest.
That question is a follow-up question before there are answers. I'm not sure about that. Right?
This is not working. Hi.
It's not working.
Hello? It is on. Hi. Okay. Hi. My name is Nadiri Mashishi, and I'm from the Daily Maverick. So I just had 2 questions. One of them's been asked, but I'm kind of. One of them was just about the future of the alliance. So if the ANC doesn't budge, are you going to consider leaving the alliance? And if so, what will that mean for members with dual memberships? Will they have to choose between the ANC and the SACP or not? And the second question is, it's more of a clarity thing. So the ANC has made it clear that they want people to state in writing who they're going to campaign for. What is the alternative that you guys are suggesting if there was a situation where an ANC member was running against an SACP member, or directly against the two, for example? Are you saying that, what do you imagine would have happened in that scenario if the members didn't have to state which they're campaigning for? I don't know if that question makes sense.
Okay, I'll give you grace on that question.
Zinoko Mshaba from Newsroom Africa Green. I just want to get an update following that announcement by the ANC of the fact that it's going to send out letters. Has the leadership of the SACP received any formal or informal, messages from cabinet ministers or from some of its senior leaders about their own decisions they are considering? So basically, has anyone come forward to say, hey, I'm making this decision, I'm remaining with the SACP, or unfortunately, can expect a letter from me, I'm resigning? So what's the state following that decision by the ANC in terms of your own members, especially those that are senior? Thank you.
All right, we're done with this round of questions. All those who are unhappy that the questions were but we allowed a few. We apologize, we're going to come next round. All right, committees will give you to give the initial response.
Yeah, thank you very much, Comrade Manzana and the rest of the press corps for the questions. The team here will help. I'll try to the best of my ability to deal with some of these things. I thought they were going to share you the statement we issued on the 10th that I referred to, because some of the questions are in that statement, or some of the answers are in that statement, where we were clear to the NEC that where the problems come from with regard to management of the alliance relations. For instance, lack of appropriate consultation. We can say, since 2015, that is 11 years ago, the alliance has never even held a summit. Under this president, we have not even had one. That's his second term. And the summits of the alliance are important because they bring the alliance together. They modify the differences and, you know, manage the tensions that are there in such a way that we are able to formulate a policy frameworks agreeable to all of the alliance. And we are able, therefore, to talk about those questions outside as the alliance. So we've not even had an alliance summit. There's been public promises, even by the president when he addressed our Congress, about economic summit. We have not even had an alliance economic summit. The biggest problems facing South Africa are economic. Even in our bilateral discussions, there was an intimation for economic workshop, for instance, so that we can take out the major differences and sort them out as problems. Those were postponed at will. So all of these have created differences on the policy space. That's why, for instance, this question, we have given you the media at our anniversary program in the Northwest. That document called Growth and Inclusion in South Africa, written by the Harvard Group. And it's adapted here as inclusive growth, just like that. It's implemented with not even consultation inside the alliance. It's a new economic policy. We have capital, big business, right inside the presidency, running Operation Vulindlela. That's state capture. No one questions this. These are the fundamental differences arising out of the alliance and its coordination because of economic policy and how it affects the people of this country. Now, from the questions that you have raised, this clause, the ANC, when they go to a Congress, and even us when we go to a Congress, we invite delegations from our alliance partners. They participate freely. They just do not have the voting rights. But they can move any motion, they can propose any idea, and the structures with the voting rights will then move for those motions to be adopted. We do not, we have, we'll send 10, 15 delegates out of 4,000 delegates. Those are SACP delegates, or COSATU delegates, or SANCO delegates. We can't change the direction that they want to take when they make constitutional amendments and so forth. We can't say no. We can debate them, but when they decide, they decide. So that's why, for instance, how they frame their constitution, even if it may impede the operations of other allies, we can't stop it. But we can assert our own independence. And this is what we are doing. We cannot allow another organization to control us as another organization, as an independent organization. So it didn't matter whether this was during President Mandela's time or now. The issue is that all of these organizations, they've got their own independent constitutional basis and frameworks. The issue around the loss of the SACP comrades in government, we have just indicated that we have been in consultation with our structures, including our provinces. Even last night we had a discussion with our provinces, where we have mandated them to reach out to our structures in districts and branches to understand the implication of this thing from our members. So we've been getting the feedback from our structures. I just indicate that we'll also be having a Politburo tomorrow. It's a normal Politburo on the calendar, but it certainly will focus a bit on this matter. So we will then have further substantive ideas in this regard. We have received these lies that are peddled, that we've taken this decision because we are receiving money from abroad. That cannot be further from the truth. We receive no money from anybody. Our money comes from our own members and from the unions. We are clear about that. We have no money from Russia or China. It's even insulting to say that. I mean, Russia is not even socialist. The Communist Party is not in power in Russia. It's President Putin. We agree with him on international questions, on anti-imperialism. We fully agree with him. But we have no relations with the Russians to the extent that we can receive money from Russia. So, in any case, even China is our ally. They are a socialist country. We like what they are doing, affirming the superiority of socialism over capitalism. Because when bourgeois media and bourgeois scholars refer to China, they don't want to refer to China as socialist. Because they don't want to see progress in a socialist country that is ahead of progress in capitalist countries. Socialism is not what bourgeois media characterize as poverty. No, it's progress as demonstrated in China, for instance. It's humanity as demonstrated in Cuba, for instance. You can see it throughout. You don't have to be rich. So we are showing you that socialism is not a decree. It's collective ownership of wealth by the people, not by corporates and the elite and a few groupings who have access to political power. So we don't receive those monies. We struggle ourselves. For instance, we just postponed our People's Red Caravan in the Free State because we didn't have money for it. I mean, how stupid is that? We didn't have money for it. That's why we postponed it. We also postponed when we have convened the Conference of the Left. It was supposed to be on the 10th of May. We have now put it on the 29th to the 30th of May, now guaranteed. The steering committee, which is composed of different other organizations, will make appropriate communications. Our communicators have now been mandated to start communicating with society. But we're taking the convening power. So all this propaganda, lies, innuendo, and so forth, gossip, is further from the truth. I think around our membership, of course, we have confidence in our membership. I don't know whether the question was saying as here, whether you want now to tell you our membership proportionate to the decision taken by the ANC, or where the membership is. We don't know where it is now since that decision. It's only this decision is only a week. We have not seen resignation. We have not received any single resignation ourselves. the issue about by-elections, Sia, you didn't mention the most important part of the by-elections. There's one by-election that was too much in the discussions 2 weeks ago in our bilateral meeting with the ANC, the by-election in the Western Cape in Danone. I'm sorry? 4%. Yeah. That by-election. So she was talking about 1%, this and that and that. She never talked about 4%, she never spoke about 12%. There have been 12% here. There have been 4% and others. It's not just only that. And in any case, it's by-elections. The by-elections have no strategic change. But it's to test, we said our comrades must get the essence of how to do this thing now, independent of the ANC, by themselves. And they've started doing that. We had a wonderful run in Limpopo, excellent run in Limpopo, actually, in different areas there. That's where we had more by-elections. And we studied those by-elections, ourselves as Communist Party. And we have derived some lessons from those by-elections in Limpopo. The issue as to whether SACP members inside the ANC have done enough, it's something else. What we can say to you is that we have the most reliable cadreship and members who are serving the ANC and the rest of the alliance movement. And we expect nothing less of them in terms of hard work, in terms of zeal to serve the people, in terms of selflessness to the revolution and to service the people of South Africa as a whole. And we have demanded to them no corruption, and that action must be taken. We have removed here from the Central Committee some who had allegations against corruption from their positions, even before the ANC can act. Some even before they went to the Integrity Committee, we have removed them. We have our own internal system that monitors morality and ethics and the way comrades live inside the Communist Party. We have acted with zeal in that regard. As to whether these members, when they are in the ANC, they would have done enough, we are quite certain that wherever they are, they will do enough. The issue, which is part of the main problem, is the fact that despite these alliance relations, you can point out members like, you have mentioned Gwede, for instance, Mandashe. You have mentioned Blake, he's our national chairman. But we can't instruct him what to do in government as the SACP. Yes. So he's instructed by the ANC. He's under the caucus and leadership of the ANC, even the policies of the ANC. So that's the extent to which we respected that particular policy. But when that policy has been abused, that's where we stand up and reject it. Because when it's been abused to negate the existence of the Communist Party, that's where we have a problem. I wanted to show you my membership of the ANC. I'm a full member of the ANC in my own right, Mawande. There's no doubt about that. I'm a full member. As you see, yeah, and I took an oath of membership, not just only an oath of membership. I also belong to Contextualizing, where I took an oath to fulfill the value system of the African National Congress. Its mission. Not a mission against the people. The value system of the African National Congress, as many other comrades are. But it's important to just highlight one thing. The alliance is not the leadership. The alliance is the program. The National Democratic Revolution. This is the joint program to transform the lives of us, of South Africa, to resolve a variety of contradictions in South Africa that have created inequality between the racial groups, between black and white, so that we can create a non-racial society and have equality of people, all citizens. The program to transform gender relations in our country so we can end patriarchy and have non-sexism as a general way of life. And the program to end economic inequality, economic colonization, and create an egalitarian society economically, a society of equals. In other words, where the people can own their wealth. That's what the National Democratic Revolution is about. That is the common program. That's the alliance. That's the centerpiece of the alliance. That's what has brought us together. Not whether I like this and that leader in the ANC or not, or whether they like me or not. Unfortunately, as Comrade Manda Makupula used to say, he says, you know, when you deal with the ANC or alliance components, he said the ANC gives you whatever they give you, and we have to deal with what they give you. So the SACP gives them whatever it gives them, they have to deal with what the SACP gives them. So it's what we do on the left, which we need to do on the other side, mathematically, not in ideology. So it's important to appreciate what the alliance is, because that's the framework that has brought us together. That's the common program. Now, how do you divide people who are on the common program? That shows the quality of leadership we have in the alliance. That we can go to that particular extent and not understand our own mission and think that our mission is personalities. I'm not interested in personalities, or the Communist Party is not interested in personalities. We're interested in the program that resolves the problems of the working class, who remain poor when we are so-called in power. That's why we've always said we are in office, not in power, because the ruling class remains in charge in this country. That is monopoly capital. They remain in charge. Now, how do you justify that? When we have brought proposals that are radical, these proposals are undermined. We have given our best in this regard through our members to surface this question so that they can be attended to. I think the position of COSATU directly, so we don't have to respond for them. What I do know now is that COSATU had a Central Committee meeting last year, September. You were there. They debated this matter, particularly on the configuration of the alliance. And if I remember very well, but you have to go to COSATU and ask them, they indicated that they will resolve this matter at their next Congress, which is coming, I think, in September. There's been a lot of engagement behind the scenes. Like I say, we had a joint discussion document, and this joint discussion document, we ended up, as the Communist Party, out of frustration, taking it to the alliance, because it was a bilateral discussion between us and the ANC, where we had acceded to many things, including this notion of coordinated elections. Remember, the SACP decision to contest elections should have started 6 months after our Congress in 2022. That's our Congress decision. We were given a deadline. The first thing we did after that was to meet with the ANC. And we said to them, now we are no longer having any possibility for maneuver on this question. The Congress was clear, it gave us a deadline. On the basis of the deadline, we needed to respond to it. We couldn't actually. We managed this thing politically and organizationally to an extent possible. For instance, 2022 December, we're supposed to have our augmented central committee to respond whether there's been alliance reconfiguration or not, and on the basis of that, to contest elections, including to start preparing even the contest of the 2024 elections. Now, we've not had a decision with the ANC at the time, and the ANC was going to its national conference. Then we said, okay, let's find a way to manage this thing within our structures. We postponed our augmented central committee to accommodate the ANC to the following year, 2023 March, end of March. We convened our augmented central committee. At that time, we have not met with the new NEC team. They have not yet set up structures of the NEC and this and that. So we then took a decision to try and accommodate, not differing with our Congress as the leadership. And by the way, despite what they say, this happens under my leadership of the SACP. we took a decision that we will contest 2026 local government elections instead of 2024, so that in between we can have enough time to discuss with the ANC. Do you know 3 weeks later what they said in their meeting? The SACP's intention to contest elections is to reconfigure the alliance. It's a way to liquidate the ANC. What did we do in reaction? We kept calm. We worked for the ANC 2024 elections. We didn't even pronounce our decision, by the way, at the time, from the augmented central committee. But our district leaderships were there. Up to the district, that's the augmented central committee. We invite our district structures and expand participation in the central committee by provinces and them. We didn't react the way they did. We kept calm. We went on to work for them because we understood the threat facing South Africa. Now, that's part of the background that you are asking for. And later on now, when we went to the Special National Congress in 2024, the ANC then felt that, or created an impression, or perhaps this impression also came out of the media, that we were now going to take a new decision. We reminded them, we're not going to take a new decision. In fact, 2 weeks before the 2024 Special National Congress, we had a meeting with the ANC leadership. They told us outright that it is not possible because we're already there, putting on the table the proposition for coordinated elections work. They said to us, no, they can't do it. So we should have lied to our Congress. We couldn't. So we told them that we are going ahead to implement our own decision. After that, because they then went on a tirade, this thing is a personal decision of Mapaila, and this and that and that and that and that. The Special National Congress reaffirmed it clearly and unanimously in the plenary of Congress when this report was put together. It was full unanimity. So it was not a personal decision. So on the basis of that, then they said, yeah, this thing is real. Okay, let's have a new forum of bilaterals. We went into a series of bilateral discussions again, including where now we developed this joint document that didn't even see the light of day, only went possibly, we didn't receive a proper feedback on this, but in the last meeting, one comrade intimated that it was rejected by the NEC in the presence of the SG. We only heard that time that actually the NEC couldn't explore other options on the table, on the document. We have made it available for you. We issued it on the 10th of April. Including the fact that they prohibited us from meeting with the NWC and the NEC because we wanted open engagement, because we've always been distorted. In fact, even for us to issue the statement, that's part of the reason why I could not go to Chris Ani's event in Mpumalanga. A matter that hurt me badly. Because that week you have understood what happened at the Chris Ani site. In the midst of preparing to go to Mpumalanga, then we hear that no, this NEC is tomorrow on Friday, 10th of April. We thought this day is accepted in the movement. It's an important day to remember former Chief of Staff of our Liberation Army and General Secretary of the SACP. So I had to start consultations both with the party officials and with the ANC officials. I had long discussions even with the Secretary General of the ANC on the eve of that NEC decision. And I said to him, it is important because in the past we will have these discussions. But sometimes these discussions will not be honored. That's why we issued a statement, so that we are on record. In the event that these things are not honored, like they were not honored, for instance, at the NGC. Because, for instance, the report given to the NGC didn't reflect the discussions we were having with the ANC, for instance. So that's why we had to place these matters in public. But nonetheless, it's water under the bridge. We're now dealing with a new situation, a consequential situation for that matter. I think the key point of disagreement it's about economic policy in the main. Now, the strategy for elections. Like our statement say, election for us is a tactical issue, it's not a strategic issue. It's a tactical matter. Now the ANC elevate this thing into a strategic issue, want to even punish communists on a tactical matter. A tactical matter means it's something that you can throw away, you can live without. So we're quite worried about that. As Nico, you came back again on a second question, whether we are willing to leave the ANC completely. What is the ANC? The ANC is an instrument of the people of this country for their liberation. That instrument must be guarded all the time. That's why we have said in our consultation with our members, you don't leave the African National Congress. That's the instrument of the people of this country, the oppressed in this country. We have to rescue it. We have to rescue the National Democratic Revolution and get this leadership to understand the damage they are causing to themselves too. Because these members that they are talking about, they are also their own members. So the ANC is the value system of the aspiration of anti-colonialism, of national liberation of our people, comprehensively, including economic liberation of our people. So, politically, ideologically, why would a communist leave the ANC? But communists may leave an entity that purports to be ANC. They may not find the expression of what the value system is about. If, for instance, we've got a team, that's why in the past we stood up to fight against corruption as the SACP, that it permitted inside the ranks of our movement. We're now seeing all these other things that are happening in the various commissions, Matlanga Commission and so forth and so forth. We want all of those things to be fully investigated and dealt with. So, therefore, it goes to this question, we will still maintain the necessity for dual membership in the conditions of our country. But at the same time, independence of alliance component remains important. Well, the issue about finances, we don't want to go into that detail. I've already given the first one that purported that we'll be receiving some money from somewhere. We don't have that. We receive donations like anyone. We do fundraisers, but the most important thing is donation from our members and from the trade union movement. It's not even big. I always even say to our comrades in the trade union movement, they mustn't say we are ungrateful about this support. I always say that they don't want the party to be independent, truly. Because some of them have got investment arms. We don't have percentages or shares in those investment arms that can make us independent. So we live from hand to mouth. But we survive. We are the part of the working class. We survive. Every other time we survive, and that's the reality. Go and look at the People's Red Caravan that I was talking about in communities. What we have done in those communities. We survive and will continue to survive. That's the bottom line. Because we are not a party for money. We're a party of programs for the working class. Now, this issue about the SACP and the EFF, MK Party, and so forth and so forth, as the new alliance know, we are in alliance with the African National Congress, with COSATU, with SANCO, and a series of mass democratic movements, the youth, the women, students, and so forth. That's a component of the MDM, mass democratic movements, that we are in alliance with. At the same time, we have launched a program we call the Conference of the Left. And this program is a very serious program. It's not a spaza shop program, this. It's a program to relaunch our revolution anew by all forces of the left. It's a process in which we can reflect on ourselves as the left forces, socialists, communists, progressives that are in the ANC and elsewhere, to say what is it that we did not do, what is it that we need to do so that our people can live better. It is in that particular process that we have started an engagement. We're also mandated by our Congress to do this. We place this in the hands of the alliance. Typical. When we raise important things, they are ignored. But we're now implementing. So in the course of implementation, we've been meeting with many organizations. We just finalized. Yesterday we met with Socialist Party of Azali. We also met recently with Azapo. We met with NUMSA. We met with MK Party. We met with the EFF. They have not seen our discussions with the MK Party. We met with them. So we're meeting with all forces who are serious about the revolution in this country. That's the force that we are convening to the Conference of the Land. We have also invited the African National Congress. We place this matter on the agenda of the alliance. Now the ANC want to problematize this thing as if we are creating new alliances. No, we are not creating new alliances. We are creating a movement for socialist transformation of this country. We are tired of the barbarity of capitalism ruling over us and co-opting our leaders into that. When freedom cannot be tangible amongst our people. So it's not special friendship, it's not even this or that. But we need all these forces to be together. Part of the reason for the postponement beyond financial was also that some of them had not given a full-scale participation as important political parties. Like, for instance, how do you leave out socialist parties that we share a common ideology with? We couldn't just go there and invite Azapo to come and participate as an invitee. We needed to thresh out with them. They needed to go through the concept note that we have developed, the framework of the program, to peruse it and to make their own suggestions, the same as NUMSA, the same as SOPA, the same as UTM, the same as many other parties. We have been meeting with various political organizations for this project. We have invited the ANC. We reiterated this invitation last week in our bilateral. It's up to them if they want to participate. If they don't come, they must not say we have excluded them. They would have excluded themselves. We don't want to be managed by capital. That's one thing for sure. That's what this project is about. So I know that when we appeared after our discussion with the EFF, people even wanted to create a problem. What is the problem when we meet with organizations, with people? These are comrades who are also in the African National Congress. And these are also South Africans who are fighting also against capital. So, why should somebody choose for us who to meet and who not to meet, who to talk to and who not to talk to? That won't happen with the SACP. But whatever it is, there is a possibility based on fraternity, independence, and respect for each other that we can work together because of the common program, not arrogance. Once you bring arrogance, it won't play with us. So there's something to salvage. Not to go back to the old ways, to go forward with our revolution. And therefore, the future of the alliance lies in that particular space. In fact, I must be honest, because I was trying to check in my system here, Comrade Jenny, because when we're discussing the ANC, they promised to give us the document that they were reading from and the letter. By yesterday, we have not received this letter. We have only seen what has been the speaker's notes presented all over the country. Because we are members of the movement, we also get to see it. They still have to communicate officially with us. We were promised that the letter is done, it's awaiting a signature. I hope that SG today, when you go there, you will sign the letter and say, now I've communicated with the SACP. But as you can see, it's as clear as this with some of us in the Communist Party, ready to vote for the SACP. If I've left other areas, the comrades here will deal with that from the first DGS and all other comrades who are in the front here. Thanks.
No, you didn't leave any. We just want to emphasize the issue of elections. What is it that we are trying to do? what we presented to our ally, the ANC and the alliance members, was that we are at a point where we are at 22 years, and we've been putting in economic policies. And these economic policies will give us the outcome that we wanted to have. And we didn't create employment. We think it's high time that we must have alternative programs that are going to change the situation in South Africa. So our elections are about ushering an alternative way of building the economy that is emphasizing the role of the state than relying on the private sector alone as we've been doing in the 20 years. It is also introducing alternatives that are going to ensure that we focus on the creation of jobs in South Africa and deal with the joblessness and unemployment that we're actually having in the current situation. We are talking about an alternative values system that are going to protect public assets and also ensure maximum accountability through iron discipline. And that we say is located within the program of socialism. We have been all these years driving just a program of us wanting to attain national liberation without elevating it in another level. So we're saying we want to introduce now the program towards socialism. So when you see us contesting, we are introducing those alternatives to the to society. The society's response might be different. We knew, we're not naive, it's going to start from first doubt and into building confidence later on when they get to understand it, and it's at a later stage where we're going to actually have, you know, a maximum. We didn't expect, even when we start these by-elections, we didn't expect that we're going to have, 80% or 100%, because we know that socialism haven't been speaking about it at any time. We are introducing it, and as we talk about it, it is going to develop society, and we're going to be growing up. So that's why we're not worried about the numbers, but we're worried that the society should have these alternatives. The other matter that I just want to address on what the GS was saying, dual membership, it wasn't decreed by us. Dual membership was agreed and giving a right to members to be able to exercise it, to have a membership, and it doesn't affect the, the copies on. It was saying you have a right to be able to participate in the national liberation movement to attain national liberation of it. But if you want to take it further to a socialist level, you have got that right, so you can exercise it. So in other words, it's not for us to dictate to our members, get out, go in. It's themselves that decide, as they've already decided. So that decision has been standing, that they've actually decided that one. So in our consultation with members now and the feedback that we're having yesterday, this is the feedback that they are saying. They say, stand out of that. That is our decision. We have made that decision. And anyone mustn't make us to make any decision now. That's what they're saying. And we're not going to respond to anyone pulling us to declare whether we're communists or not communists. We have decided that long ago, and we can't re-decide it now. So that's what the message they're actually giving to us. Thanks.
This man, he served time on Robben Island on the mission of the ANC. So they now want you to choose. This one, Comrade Jane, the poster girl of armed struggle. She fought against the apartheid enemy from MK. She had battlers. Now they want her to choose. She's in the integrity committee of the ANC, by the way. Now you have a choice.
Okay. This is the second round. I think we're gonna be a little stingy now in the second. Just one question. I'll take you, I'll take you, Sia. I'll take you, Com. I'm gonna call you Com if you don't mind. I think we have 5. And number 6. All right. Or there's a question that was not answered. I'll give you to restate it when that time comes. Over to you.
Was that about ANC, whether we got feedback from our members?
Was whether there's any official submission from the members who are saying that
No, I thought I answered that. No, we haven't. We haven't received any.
Yeah.
But like I said, we haven't received any. We're not encouraging them to honor this thing, but we are saying if they feel too much pressured and so forth, that's why we've created a system with our provinces to talk to these members. Some of them will be talking to them at national level. Ourselves as a secretariat here, we'll be talking to some of those so that we clarify these things. If you read our statement on the 10th, we said in that statement, we are willing that these members, we don't do more damage on the movement itself. We allow them to participate in the ANC platform, but they didn't have to denounce the SACP. Now the ANC wants them to make a choice. That's what we differ with. They don't even understand the concept of nuancing. We're nuancing this difficult situation that they brought themselves into. That's in our statement. So we're not expecting anyone, or we haven't received any letter from any member, but like we said, if they do so, we'll respect that. We have said they must remain where they are, do their duties. They are ANC members in their own right. We don't have quota for members in the PC or anywhere else. They are ANC members in their own right. And they've been given duties and responsibilities also on the basis of collective work and also on the basis of their capacities. So we haven't received any in that regard.
Shannon Merrick, SABC Africa. It sounds like the SACP wants to be a wife, a girl, a side chick, and a main chick at the same time. You say that you don't want money from white monopoly capitalists. You're fighting agenda among capitalists, but you get money from the trade union. The trade union, we all know as a fact, has shares in JSE companies, which are white monopoly capitalists. Isn't that the contradiction? Thank you.
Again, my name is Samtana Kapa from News 24. Just one question for me, Mr. Mapaila. You're going ahead with this decision, but your own Central Committee members and Chair, Mr. Dave Zemande, has written a discussion document against the decision. Have you discussed it, and have you engaged with this document? Thank you.
Thanks. My name is Mawanda again from Sunday Well. Jeff, I didn't hear you answering my question about if you were the ANC, that the decision that they've taken, that if you were them, is it that logical for them to take that decision in the prevailing circumstances? I even asked, if the roles were reversed, what decision would you take in the same position? But my real follow-up question, which again is to stress a question by a viewer that I also think you tiptoed against when he asked, if you insist that the current ANC is not the ANC that you know and the ANC that you want, why do you persist then on being married to them? And maybe, to stretch the question further, in the upcoming conference of the left, if these socialist movements that you're going to be convening with them, anyway, I doubt the ANC is going to go there. If they say, surely all of us gathered here, we agree that the ANC is moving on the wrong path, and we are advising, well, MK is already out, EFF is already out, all of them are not part of an ANC alliance. And they say to the SACP, we advise you to join us on the outside, and we move from this socialist front outside the ANC. Will the SACP hit that call to dump the ANC in this platform that you've created yourself? It's the conference of the left. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Drayton here again from Netwerk 24. GS, I just want to be clear, so it's a clarificatory question. Are you saying you are being disrespected by the ANC currently? Is that your position? You said that the president hasn't met with you. You make a lot of, you gave us a lot of scenarios. Are you currently being disrespected by the ANC? Thank you so much.
Thanks. As the position paper of the chair, you know, in the Communist Party, there is this thing that we do. We can take, we allow engagements, and we allow, and that's why these congress are free. At any given point, we disagree and raise any issue so that they get clarified on the matter. Yes, it did raise that, and members engage with it and engage with that the position that is having, and they did indicate still that they still feel that they are correct, because it wasn't writing for us as leadership, it was writing for members, and the members clarified and said, we are still in that. So it's the same as the other papers that the other comrades have raised in relation to what the stance that we have taken. The similar thing that is branded, I think, is also in the speaker's note of the ANC, saying that, yeah, we've even disbanded the KZN because it had no. The KZN was never disbanded on the basis of their argument. And that argument, they've been holding it since Congress and up to everywhere, even in the special Congress, and they continued, and members responded to them all the time. There was no need to disband them on the basis of that, because members have already responded to them and give a direction in terms of because they were not influencing us as leadership, they were influencing membership. So the disbandment of the case has got nothing to do with them differing with the party on that. Just to do with its performance. The ANC goes and it disbands and put a TPTT in KZN. But based on the evaluation of his work, it just changed even now. Change that team, and it says no, it wants it to perform. But the party cannot say to its structures, we are not performing. We went to 2024. There was an onslaught on the outcome of ourselves as an alliance, and you didn't give us a feedback on what is it that is happening there. But you know, and then it's seen as a adversary. It's something that so that's where we are. If the SACP was the ANC, what would they do? Based on this relationship that we have to drive the national liberation in South Africa. No, ask us, if the ANC would say, we want to contest because our ideological position is, let's say, all of us were aligning around socialism. And they say, we think that this route is not going right, we want a mixed economy. And we don't have, there's no contestation about that mixed economy. We say, go ahead, we would have allowed that. And we have said, exercise that, let's see how maybe the amplification of that policy position will make people to understand us better and also appreciate better that particular position. We're not going to contest members, whether if the members want to continue to assist you, will do so. We would not have seen it as a big thing. ANC is a national liberation movement. National liberation movement is not a socialist movement. So that is why at the current moment we participate, even members participate in that. And it must be allowed as a national liberation movement. But it must allow us to accept us in terms of our program towards socialism and its members to be able to exercise that. That's all that we need, and there must be no apprehension around it. Thanks.
The alliance is made up of three independent political structures. The emphasis is on the independents. South African Communist Party, the African National Congress, and COSATU as a trade union movement. At all stages of the history of the alliance, this has been a principle that's respected. So the party to arrive at the current decision based on objective conditions within the country, and also the realization that since 1994 until the present period, that the alliance support at the electoral level has been reduced to 40% is a crucial matter that has forced us as the components of the alliance to take cognizance of the objective conditions in the country presently, and also our subjective weaknesses as components of the alliance. How is this to be addressed? The reality of the situation that a substantial number of our people have decided not to go to the polls to vote for the alliance. That is a factor that we have had to take into consideration. The issue that we also have to take cognizance of, the decision that the Communist Party has taken, when we go out to campaign, it's in order to strengthen the very alliance that has become weak. The party standing for alliance for elections should not, or it stands to contest elections, should not be equated as a function seeking to destroy the alliance. The reality that we have to face, the challenge that the South African Communist Party is also going to face in campaigning, people will say that since 1994, you have been part of this alliance, you have drafted elections manifestos together. So why should we trust you now? So that's a reality that we'll also have to face and engage communities honestly to say that we need to address the manifesto aims and objectives that you articulated how far have we been able to implement those manifestos? So those are real questions that are going to confront us, also as the South African Communist Party. But the aims and objectives of the alliance have to be respected to improve the ordinary people's livelihoods. That remains our main principle. In engaging this, it's to address our own subjective and objective weaknesses in order to create this better life for all of our people that we have always been articulating. Thank you.
Thank you, Jess. I think just to bring an aspect that was raised in the statement and reflect on our experiences of the People's Red Caravan. As communists, we cannot at any stage stand aloof from addressing the issues that we're experiencing. The lack of self-reliance, the lack of the exercise of people's power, those are fundamental tenets of the National Democratic Revolution. Our experience in the People's Red Caravan is that working with the people, working to build that self-reliance, to enable us, the community, to take responsibility for addressing the challenges of their own livelihood. The cost of living, the fact that poverty is as serious as it is, the lack of food on people's tables, those aspects combined with the point that Comrade Ben has just made of the alienation of a vast number of South Africans from even registering for elections, let alone turning out to vote in elections, does require us as a Communist Party to have taken the decision that we have taken and to be able to ensure that we implement it fully. Comrade Madala has indicated very clearly that this is the beginning of a process. We are fully committed to that implementation and fully committed to strengthening the alliance, the organizations of the alliance, as we move forward in those processes. It would be irresponsible for us as a Communist Party to not be sensitive to and address the conditions that the majority of people in South Africa are experiencing and strive with our alliance partners to turn that process around in the interests of the majority of people in South Africa. Thank you.
I think I'll attempt to deal with the last question, which I think it's a follow-up because the GS did highlight to say alliance as a living organism. It is not about egos of individuals or personal relations. So the disrespect is not directed to individuals, but if we're an alliance, there has to be shared programs, joint programs on the ground, because firstly, this alliance was not made as an electoral pact. It is informed of shared common programs on the ground, in the trenches, and that's why the National Democratic Revolution becomes the anchor of what brings us together. So clearly, from time to time, there has to be a common assessment of how far are we in changing the lives of the people, how far are we in dealing with this and this. And for that matter of fact, since even the 2024 setback, there's never been even a joint session just to reflect on the moment of the setbacks. And I think is the point that was being highlighted to say there has to be secretariat meetings, there has to be an alliance political council, which is the top officials of all the components of the alliance. There has to be alliance summits. Since this new leadership under the current president came, there's never been such that has to sit. Most of the time where even alliance political council sit, it's agent interventions by each alliance component on the basis of a subject issue. Like when we're dealing with the austerity letter that the National Treasurer has to send out to departments, then there has to be an agent APC. When the party released a statement to oppose the current decision by the president to freeze the implementation of the NHI, succumbing to the same capital, succumbing to those big 15 that came to fight against transformation. It's then when those meetings sit. It can't be like that. That is not how the alliance must be able to operate. I mean, even this year, they've been scheduled meetings that we have collectively agreed in terms of us meeting, putting dates aside, but those things don't happen. And that is why we say, then that can be that the alliance now breathes through one person that must be on the life support and the other one decides when to switch on, to switch off, because we're equal partners. And it's part of that. So I think that is the point, that automatically it's not actually the party that is disrespected. The same alliance, it's failing to execute its revolutionary task that is expected because of lack of understanding of collective leadership, equal partners, and having that shared particular program. Thanks.
No, thanks very much, comrades, for the additions or for responding. Just 2 points. I wanted the point that you raised. Maybe I didn't understand it very well. My apologies. I thought you were asking my membership of the ANC. Or the secondary question. If this was reversed, what would we have done? We certainly will not cajole our ally to work with us. We will use scientific evidence to develop strategy, not political party positions. For instance, that's why we have proposed, and we've made it openly, the concept of coordinated elections. In other words, it means we sit together and say, this is how we're going to approach these elections. You'll be on the ballot, we'll be on the ballot, these are the difficulties because of this and that and that. They have rejected that because they just want control. Now, if the things were reversed, that's what we will do. We will ask them to have coordinated election process. In fact, some of the provinces were shocked. I'm not in the NEC, you should know. Some of the comrades raised this thing sharply, that they don't have problems of alliance relations in some provinces. And these are differences at the top. And they are imposed. Now when they are imposed, those comrades, there's nothing they can do. They have to comply because the national organizations have given mandate. But there are no problems in many of coordination and collaboration, cooperation between our comrades in provinces. So take, for instance, a scenario we have placed in public on several occasions of the city of Johannesburg. We just can't agree on a simple thing about how votes are calculated. Really. Because we show the ANC, it's available, you can go and print the last local government elections, the outcomes. If we were to follow the coordinated electoral process as the alliance, here in the city of Johannesburg, Freedom Front gets 12,000 members, 12,000 votes, proportional votes. They get 4 seats out of these 12,000 votes. The ANC gets 306,000 proportional votes. They get 4 seats. The same as the Freedom Front. We place this on the table. We say this is unacceptable. We can't change the law. They may change the law with the parties that they agree with. But we had initially proposed that this matter needs to be addressed. It was ignored. Now when it is facing us in this way, it then affects the transformation agenda and that we must lead as a movement. We say, okay, look at Action SA here in Johannesburg. We have about 167,000, they've got 44 seats in council. Almost half the size of the PR votes of the ANC, which has got only proportional seats. The scholars in the electoral field, they call this lost votes. We said, let's discuss this thing. There's no space for discussion about this thing, because people just want to do, can't contest elections. That's it. Because we made a mistake of trust by trusting them that we will participate in the elections through the ANC. They say they take this as a weakness. That's a choice. We made a choice for them to lead us in the campaigns, in the elections. But when there are difficulties, we show them the difficulties and how to resolve these difficulties. They don't want to be part of the solution. They just simply say, no. If you go out, we will be more weaker. They come with threats because they think they control the deployment tool of these comrades that we contest with, and they deploy them in government. So that's the point. We'll give them a coordinated electoral process as the alliance, because we are one people, one program. Again, the issue about the left forces and socialist and the communist and other forces of the left, we have to consolidate the forces of the left, because they are too fragmented. And the socialist struggle is weakened in this regard. But we must say that the struggle for socialism doesn't need any permission. We don't need permission from anybody. Not from capital and not from government. So, but equally, those organizations can't tell us, the Communist Party, we remain an independent organization as we go into the Conference of the Left, as we go into joint programs to work with them. For instance, we are already discussing with various components about certain things that already we do not agree between us, but things that should not impede the collaboration of forces of the left and working together, because we are not one organization. And surprisingly, we are able to handle these matters well with this organization outside the alliance than with other organizations. For instance, we were discussing with, as an example, for instance, with ASAPO. One of the things we say, comrades, you call South Africa Azania. We still call it South Africa. We do not deny that the fact that South Africans may at one time want to name their country differently. But can this not be the discussion on the concept note of the Conference of the Left, where we refer South Africa, they can't say, no, refer Azania. So they are able to reach us and say, no, that's an important issue, but perhaps not the immediate one that we need to deal with in this conference. So it doesn't mean that we can't address it. But we can find a good comradely discussions. Even with SOPA, it was the same thing, because they are also socialist part of Azania. We're having proper comradely discussion as socialist forces. We had good discussions with comrades in the MK party. Excellent discussions, so to speak. We had good discussions with the EFF. We have established working group on areas that are of differences. We are nuancing this and that. They frame it in this way, we frame it that way. So that we reach out, we find one another. There's no this ultimatums. Now, this is shocking, this ultimatum. It's a pure anti-communist thing that we don't accept at all. Now, Comrade Tednigo responded quite well about this thing. I just want to put it for the record. I don't party with, I'm not a social phenomenon or social guy. So you'll not find me in so-and-so's party going to drink this and that. No, that's not my type. I'd rather use that type effectively and read or spend my time proper with the family. So relationship that I have with leaders in the movement should not be a social relationship. It's a political relationship. It's an organizational relationship on the basis of my mandate. If I want to meet with President Ramaphosa for issues that the party has raised, it's not because I seek personal favors or friendship. The same if I want to meet with the leadership in COSATU or even the SG of the ANC. Nothing personal, political, organizational, on the basis of our collective mandate. So it's not personal disrespect. It's disrespect to the movement as a whole. The point that Comrade Nyeko highlighted clearly. The fact that we lost elections in 2024, we have not met for a single day to analyze why we lost. Up to now, it's a problem. We were supposed to do it the first weekend. As per our proposal, they agreed to it. It has not happened. I think some of the key questions, of course, that remains the bigger problem that we need to focus on, obviously, we have agreed, is the whole issue around, of course, there's a question about, is outside, about the union money. No. The unions' money, the primary money of the unions comes from their membership, the subscriptions. Majority of the unions, they are not even in the JSE. So it's unfair to these unions. But of course, they've established investment wings and so on and so forth. Some of those investment wings might have gone to the JSE to make money and so forth. That's something else. But the bottom line is that majority of the affiliates, the unions, they receive money from their members. And it's not even sufficient sometimes to carry them through. Last point is just to indicate that our main task of the National Democratic Revolution is to work together to transform property relations in this country. In other words, transfer the ownership of land to the people, the wealth of the country to the people. That's the core task of the National Democratic Revolution. That's the core task of the alliance. Now, in analysis, when we look at economic metrics and so forth, the points Comrade Jenny was raising, the cost of living crisis affecting the poor, the working class. Even the middle strata is in crisis. So it is all of these things that here we are seeing our revolution degenerating, no longer even having a little bit of social democracy that was a promise post-1994. It's actually we're becoming a poor country with so much wealth, because wealth has been concentrated in the hands of the few, supported by government, now even promising them more resources of the public. Water privatization, for instance. Another battle that we're going to have, by the way. This privatization of water. The privatization of ESCOM, for instance, in the name of unbundling. All of it to capital. For self-enrichment of capital and the cronies that are related to those in power. Now, that cannot be the agenda of the National Democratic Revolution. It is in this regard that we want, in the alliance, we have placed these questions in the alliance. These are questions that must be debated properly in an alliance summit or alliance economic summit, so that we finalize critical issues affecting the working class in this country. We can't take responsibility for people who are so reckless with the South African Revolution. That's why this independence, as Comrade Madala is indicating, we want clear representation of the working class in governance, so the working class can decide for itself. Not hand over its political power to some authority that doesn't even respect them. That's the essence. That's where the issues are. Otherwise, thank you very much, Comrade Mandan and the rest of the media team.
Thank you, colleagues. We've come to the end of the session. Thank you, Comrade GS and comrades of the leadership. We're out. Thank you.
This thing is still on. It's still on. The mic is still on.
Good luck on your trip to go to the house.
Yeah.